Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 2. I'm so excited to be talking about I
I
love
know
this show.
you love this show so much. So, Matt has been talking
Yeah,
about this show nonstop since it started, how much he loves it. I'll hear him in the other room, like giggling and laughing all the time. So, finally, he's convinced me to watch the show, and it's great.
Richmond till we die, everybody. Like
All
this.
right.
Okay, this season is going to be big. It's ambitious. I mean, clearly, this episode is like 45 minutes long. This is a comedy, but like,
Yeah, these episodes are getting longer and longer and longer.
that's what happens when you have 2 million cast members that are
I know.
apparently a part of this show now. But, it's going to be a fun journey to go through this. I think there's a lot of sort of theory stuff that we can sort of weave in as
Mhm.
to where things are going. There's kind of always been this sort of, is this or is this not the final season of the show that is still going on to this day because Apple TV Plus is trying to clutch onto the show for dear life because they don't want to lose the money.
Of course they don't. I mean, this show is huge. Can they keep it going? I think they probably can. They'll just drive some money up to their houses and be like, let's go.
Okay, well, we have a lot to talk about in here as with the return of Trent Crim, formerly of the Independent. But before we go further, be sure to share this video around if you guys enjoy this Ted Lasso discussion. If you believe in great Ted Lasso discussions in general, though, there's going to be a
Oh.
lot of that. You guys just got to brace yourselves accordingly.
Listen, if you watch the show, I'm sure you're already used to that type of talk from Ted.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, just spread the word. We want to have lively discussions with you guys in the comments.
Also, follow us over on our Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. We've got some fun stuff up there.
Okay, so let's begin with Trent Crim, Independent, because
Yes, it was really good to see that they found a way to bring him back. I mean, he was such a big part of the first season and, started to trickle off a little in season 2 when he did what he did by revealing his source to Ted and then basically fired himself. I didn't know if we were really going to be able to see him again. So it was really cool to see that they found a way to bring him back.
couple of things I love about Trent Crim. Number one, hair. Like, as
Oh, his hair is great.
bald man, I have serious hair envy. Some of the glorious mane. Number two, clearly Trent Crim, great friend, willing to basically destroy his entire career for the sake of letting Ted know the truth about Nate. So good on you, Trent Crim.
Yeah, it was really interesting to sort of see what the dynamic was with Trent and Roy because as soon as it came up that it was like Trent's going to write this book about the team, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, great, cool. So Roy is obviously not having this. And I think it was pretty obvious what it was going to come about that, Trent obviously wrote a piece that really hurt Roy. But I think the reveal of it, of just sort of more of the details of it where Roy was like, I was 17 years old. I had just really got here. Like
Yeah.
it really stung me in a way that I didn't even know was possible sort of thing. And I've carried it with me around literally in his wallet and in his heart. I think it was a good moment for Roy to be able to kind of let that go.
Want to see my Roy impression? Okay, no, the scene with Roy and Trent was fantastic. It was one of the best parts of this whole episode. I do think that there is some element of truth to this idea of you said something terrible about me early on in my career. I'm gonna carry this grudge for like
Yeah, but
I,
sometimes it can be a motivator
yeah,
too. Like, I don't talk about this much at the channel here, but I made a film a really long time ago. And when I was trying to get this film made, one of the first people that rejected me
yeah,
wrote me a letter. And they were one of the only people that like really wrote me back to basically be like, this isn't for us,
yeah.
sorry, but not sorry. Where I kept that letter and I used it as motivation to be able to get the film made. The film got made, and then I sent them tickets to the opening and they came. And it
That's
was really
awesome.
cool. Like
Yeah.
it can be as a motivator, but for Roy it really wasn't.
No, for Roy,
It
this
really hurt him.
yeah, this was like a grade A level grudge, and I think how they explained it was really good, especially with Trent sort of explaining how when he was starting out as a writer, and yeah, I've heard this before too from a lot of people who cover whether it's like entertainment or sports or whatever else. You want to you're really frustrated when you're young and you're stuck because you're like, why is nobody reading me? I want
Yes.
people to read me, darn it. And so in order to like get people's attention, you act out. You're like an angry, rebellious teenager who is just like trying to get attention. And Trent clearly had a rebellious streak many years ago, and he just decided he was gonna be nasty. And this is what happens when you're gonna be nasty. You have Roy Kent potentially trying to take you out in the middle of everything going on.
Well, luckily that's been squashed, so Trent will
Yeah.
be around writing his book. Roy is okay with it as much as Roy is okay with anything. But the thing he is not okay with is his breakup with Keeley. And it was a really well done sort of moment with him and Jamie, because Jamie watching and learning sort of that him and Keeley had broken up. When she was walking out the door and Roy was going to another room and Jamie started going down the hall, I was like, please don't let him be going after Keeley. I really don't want to just see Jamie have this love triangle story play out, because right now my biggest beef is that Jamie doesn't really have anything to do. Since they've had him have his redemption arc, he's just good guy Jamie and there's no story for him. So to watch him go in and talk to Roy and try to hug Roy and just be like, hey, I don't have ulterior motives, I'm just here to actually see if you're okay, shows this respect for Roy as, one of the coaches of the team, as somebody who is, helping a team that he's a part of.
It was also this fun little mirror because back in season 2 we have that moment where like Roy hugs Jamie after everything with Jamie's dad, and like that was that's like one of the ultimate like heart punches of this entire show. And here is Jamie trying to be here for Roy, not I think understanding that Roy is not you, Jamie. Roy does not react to things anywhere near the same way. And yeah, I'm worried about this sort of fear that we're gonna have another Jamie and, as he says, Keela relationship coming up later this season. But I don't think they're going there. I think it sort of would be just wiping away, Keely's own sort of like authority in this. It's like, what does she want out of her own life? Does she really want to go back to Jamie at this point? I don't see it. I agree. Jamie does need some sort of storyline moving forward this season. He's a great character. He deserves it. I hope that we get it at some point.
Yeah, they just kind of took a lot of the air out of him by having him turn a corner just a bit too much, where they've lost some of who he is, a bit of his sort of young guy arrogance, which is fine to have, but at some kind of degree, but they've just kind of taken it all away. But yeah, I don't need to see him get back with Keeley. Keeley's moved into a different direction. And yeah, they've both changed a lot, but that's why I don't want to see them get back together. They've moved in completely different directions. They're not the same people anymore.
All right, here's where I'm going to go tinfoil hat here on Jamie,
Oh,
because
all right.
I think I know where this is going, everybody. And I say this, I get like at least half of these things wrong. So bear with me here. So we have in this episode the introduction of Zava, the, new, pretentious, highly arrogant soccer player. It's my belief that this is based on a soccer player named Zlatan who uses third person a lot to discuss himself. But I feel like this is basically, Zava is what happens when Jamie goes unchecked for the entirety of his life. This is like a Uber Jamie. And so basically, Jamie has been training under the Obi-Wan Kenobi that is sort of Ted or Roy, and now we're bringing in Vader, who is coming in to AFC Richmond, and he is just like, Jamie, come to the dark side where you call yourself Jamie in third person. And I feel like this is going to be a problem because this is a very successful, very seemingly bad influence, and I don't really want to see this Zava dude fall in line. Like, I actually want him to kind of be a rebel and a heel and a problem.
They need to have somebody come in and be a problem for a little while to sort of give our heroes something to work towards. But if Zava comes around at some point, for me, I would love to see it be Jamie, because he has, like you said, he is sort of Zava, but he got checked early on, so he didn't turn into that. So he is somebody who then could be able to maybe mentor him to bring him sort of back down and show what it's like to play for a team, because it's seemingly he's there to basically show that he's better than everybody after that hilarious, weird, awkward talk Rebecca had with him in the bathroom.
Okay, there's a part of me that was just like, is this too much? Is
No.
this just like, yeah, I know. And then eventually,
Just enough.
yeah, I eventually landed on that sort of spot too, because it's like, if it was like 99% of, I think, normal people, they would probably be so turned off by this, they would run the other way. But clearly this guy's a little bit off. Clearly he has a very weird way of doing things. He wants to be insulted. I don't think anybody talks to Zava this way, so...
No, and I think that that's probably what turned him around, that, he probably has a lot of yes people around him. They're just like, you're great, you're amazing, I know I am, I'm the best sort of thing. To have somebody actually come in and talk to him like that might have been the thing that he just needed to be like, oh, you're going to talk to me that way? Well, I'm going to be on your team now, and I'm going to show you why I'm the best.
So I think this episode does just a lot right. I think the introduction to Zava is hopefully going to be really fun. I think the scene where they have all this miscommunication in the locker room early on, thinking they're talking about Zava or about Roy and Keeley breaking up. I broke up with her. Like all of that was really great. Now, yeah, I think there are a couple of rational questions that we should all be sort of wondering about. I mean, number one being, at the end of the premiere, we have this sort of reveal that, all the way back in the United States, there is a potential father figure in, Ted's son Henry's life. This guy named Jake, who apparently has given him the Infinity Gauntlet. But I'm surprised that didn't come up at all in this episode. I know there's a lot going on, but it feels like a little bit more of that continuity would have been nice.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's a big reveal to then kind of just not have anything about it. I mean, I'd also like to see maybe a bit something deeper of why Roy and Keeley broke up, because the reason that we've been given just isn't really enough for me. They were together a year. That's quite a long time. Yes, big career changes can be a stress on a relationship. But I mean, for Roy, he's still kind of in the same profession, and, and he's working with other people. It's just, I don't know. It wasn't enough for me of why they broke up and not even try to figure out a way around it. Like, it was presumptuous of Roy to be like, oh, you just got this huge investment and you're about to start, your own company with all this money and backing behind you. Let's go away for a month and a half. Yeah. It was a really unfair ask, almost like he was sabotaging the relationship. I said it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with you saying it. I think on some level, maybe Roy was so afraid of being broken up with that he was just like, you know what, I'm going to end it now because I don't want to get heartbroken. And if I'm the one who ends it, guess what? I have to live with that. I don't have to feel like I got dumped. I do wish we got a little bit more information on that. And, this is the tricky thing. And so, we could all discuss this in the comments too, is it bad if we all sort of know how this show is probably going to end? Because I feel like Roy and Keeley are going to get back together. Like, I want that too. Like, that's not a predictable thing that I'm upset with. It feels like for Ted, the obvious ending to all this is that he's going to go back to the States. He's going to be with his son. And it's like, okay,
of course.
Yeah, like we all understand that. But is it a bad thing if we sort of all know where things are going? Because even with Trent in this episode, like going into it, I was just like, okay, they're probably bringing Trent back to write a book about the team because he's a writer. And to quote "Throw Mama from the Train," a movie that me and like 5 other people remember.
So good. We all remember. Okay, that's a classic.
I think so, but I don't know. Nobody's mentioned it to me in like a year. But there's a writer writes always. That's in that movie, but. It just felt like inevitably Trent was still going to be writing. He wasn't going to be like Trent Crim, hot dog salesman, or like, no. So it's just like, there's a lot of things on this show that are very predictable, but is that bad because it makes us feel things?
No, with so many shows that are really dark out there, which are still good. I
Yeah.
mean, we're covering a bunch of them coming up. We have Yellow Jackets
boy.
coming up, which is pretty dark, and
Yeah.
Succession on Sunday. So, and we cover, we cover all kinds of shows here that are a little bit darker. To have something like this show where, yes, it's a little bit predictable, but it's about the journey and there's a lot of positivity and some laughs. It's nice to have something like this.
I appreciate they didn't put Nate in this episode, and that's not a slam on Nate the Great or anything
What
like
a
that.
complicated character, man.
Oh, he's so insecure,
Wow.
so messed up. But it's just like, I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him, but
Yeah.
they already had so much going on. You don't need to jam even more in here.
No, this is a big cast.
All right, well, we'll be back to discuss everything else with Ted Lasso moving forward. Let's just hope it stays as good as it's been for the past couple of seasons. But, spread this video around. Let's have a lively discussion on everything that's going on here. Hopefully less tense than what was going on with Roy and Trent Crim. But we will see you guys here next time.